Hello YouTube. So, quick video about Stalker 2 here. We've just had an update recently, and part of that update is they've added new settings for the controls for controller. So you can, and if you'd played Stalker, you'd know, like I did, I knew anyway, that the aiming felt janky and clunky to me. It felt like it was very difficult to aim, especially at close range when mutants were running around you. Um, and that was because, and I was saying to myself when I first started playing this game that there's something wrong with the stick curve. I knew there was something, like the way they had it set up was terrible. Um, and you'd probably noticed as well that it felt like the dead zones were more impactful. And I thought there was a problem with the dead zones also, but it turns out it was just the curve. So what you want to do is, if you want smooth aim as if you were playing Call of Duty, but on Stalker 2, this is what you want to do. So, copy these settings, I'll show you. So, go to controls, go to the bottom, and go to, well, let me go to the top first. You need to do both the camera and the movement. So, go to the movement curve first, put that on custom, and you want start point 0, game input 0, leave tangent 0, leave weight 45%, central point. You want that central point to be right in the center. Reason being, it keeps the curve smooth. So on this graph, oh god, you can't use the mouse to show you. If I if I move the mouse, it takes the control settings away, so I can't like point at the screen or anything. Let me go back up. So if you want aim as if you're playing Call of Duty and not clunky Stalker, so your central point 50 50 and then 0 0 0. So the graph represents on the bottom left the first, there's 3 dots. That's just, forget that for a second. So the bottom left, you've got the first dot, and and the graph you'll see goes from 0 to 1 and 0.5 in the middle on both sides, both axes. And it's basically the bottom left 0 is 0 input on your stick, and 1 is 100% input, 0.5 is 50%. So if you imagine you moving your stick a little tiny bit, it's a few percent from the center, that'll be just a small little bit up and across on the graph. And one of these axes is game input and one of them is stick input. And I don't know which one's which. Hang on. Stick input. But it makes no difference which one it is. It's not one of those type of graphs where it makes a difference. It's just, so if you take one axis and represent that as stick input, so if you moved your stick halfway across from the end point on your actual physical controller, then you'd be pointing at 0.5 on the graph. Does that make sense? And in the game input, you want to match that. You don't want a crazy thing where, like they had it on, like the developers had it. I'll show you how they had it on one of their pre-made settings. Even on their pre-made off setting, it starts all the way up to nearly 0.5. So all of that input you can't have. That's why when you move your character on Stalker, it accelerates in a massive chunk all in one go, rather than a smooth input. Do you know what I mean? So, and then their other settings, weak. They've got a weak setting for it, which they're trying to represent a weak curve. It's quite a bloody strong curve, really, and then it's quite a strong start point that you've still got a massive chunk of the input missing. Yeah, it's to extremes, and then medium. There's basically no curve. I don't know why they call it medium. It's practically linear, but again, that start. You see the start point at the bottom left where there's that massive bit missing. That's the problem. The main problem. All of it's a problem. But we'll go. So if you see my curve on custom, you'll see that I've made the 3 points equally distanted away from each other. They're They're of an equal distance away from each other. And then I've got it as smooth as you can get it with their settings. You can't have it any smoother than that, unfortunately. But so it's not perfect, but you'll notice a massive, massive difference. It almost feels like you're playing Call of Duty. It's that good. So um, you want. See, if I move this, you can see there that the stick input axis now is actually the bottom one now. I've just figured it out. So as you move the stick input axis, now say if it was there, I'd have to move my stick halfway across the joystick halfway across its housing, whatever, you know, what the joystick's inside of, for it to even register an input. So there's all that character movement that you're missing out from. And then this is the game input. So that's what the game will register. So now the character will move at a 50% speed if that's at 0.5. If I put this over there, now I'll get 50% character speed with 50% input of the stick, right? And you'll have, because there's a massive gap, you won't have any input until that point. And that's where the start point will be. So it'll start off running at 50% speed, right? So you want 000 at the beginning so that you can have a larger range of movement in your character, right? The leave weight, that impacts the amount that the weight allow for configuring the transition from the current point to the next one. So it's basically the strength of the curve. You can play with that, move it up and down, see where you like it. But the actual curve itself is the main thing that you want to address. And then for the central point, 50-50, you want that dot to be right in the middle. 0 on the tangents, doesn't really matter. The leave weight, don't matter too much. End point, 100 and 100, because you want it on the very end of the scale, so you can have 100% character movement. Alright. And then, so that's the movement curve. If we go to the camera curve now, let me show you the settings that the developers had. Off, that's like a linear, which is a 1-to-1 setting, so that you won't have any slow down at the beginning of the movement, or a speed up at the end of the movement. And the reason you want a curve is because linear on a mouse is very good, but on a joystick, you've got such a small thing, such a small stick, right? That you in a small area that it moves in and out of, that for you to be accurate, you'd have to move it. You know, to be so accurate with such a small item. But if you have a curve, you slow down, like, and the hardest part of aiming is the, you know, when you've got to move your stick from, you know, if you've got to move it you've got to move your character 45 degrees. You'd agree that that's not a hard thing to do, right? If I was to go like this from here to here, that's not a hard thing. Anyone can do that, right? The hard part of aiming is the small movements, where you from long range, for example, you're trying to hit an enemy behind cover. You got to make very small, minute, accurate movements, right? That's the hard thing. And that part of the how much is your stick moving physically on your controller when you're trying to do those type of movements? A very small amount. So the small movements are the hardest movements. So you want those movements. You want. Hold on, let me go back to the. So you want, instead of it being linear at those points, you want a curve so it slows down the intensity. Basically, you want a low sensitivity when you're making small movements. so it slows down your sensitivity. It's almost like having aim assist. Aim assist, all it does is when your cursor is close to an enemy, it lowers your controller sensitivity down, slows the movement down. Now you can do that with a stick curve to have it so that when you're making smaller movements, your sensitivity will be lower, and that's what you want. So, and then you want, but then you want the still at the other end of the scale when you move the stick all the way to the right when you're making a larger movement. You want that to still be fast so that you're not slow when you're changing targets, right? So anyway, start point for the camera curve, you want 0, 0, 0, 0. You want the start point to be just natural, and then you want to go to the center. This is where you really got to make the changes. So you want to try and get that in as much of in the middle as possible. I don't know why on mine it won't allow me to go bang on the middle. It's got it allows me to do either, it's always 1% over or something. Oh, there we go. It's got 51% or 49% it was before. That's if I go to the other end, it'll go to. Then it'll stop me out at. Yeah. So if I go to it's like if you say you can't go bang on in the middle, but that doesn't matter. Just get it as close as you can. So 49% is as close as we can get it there. Game input 50%. Tangent 100%. Whatever on the tangent. You can play with them a bit and see what you. Sorry, no, that's the weight. The weight you can play with. The tangent you can't play with. The tangent you need to be on 100% because you want that you want the input to be as smooth as possible. If you make that curve, you'll notice there's a massive janky, clunky area of the movement where it's making a sensitivity change too fast. And you don't want that. The nervous system can't comprehend the changes like that. So that's the central point. Get all those settings in. Endpoint. That's what you want for endpoint. Just copy that quickly. 100, 100, 100, 0. And then what I'll do is I'll try go into a mission a little bit and show you what aiming's like with those settings versus the normal settings that the game chooses for you. Which, by the way, are not normal. It's what the Stalker developers have decided on. Call of Duty's settings are completely different to that. They're more accustomed to what I've done. It's a little bit slow still on when I'm trying to make a large turn. These are so hard to hit anyway, these little buggers. But what I'm doing there, it'd be impossible with the other curve, and I'll put the other curve on. Right. I'll go to a. What did the game have on? Normally we'll go to medium and see what that's like, right? And as you can see, I don't have enough speed. And it's too slow. Like the the smaller adjustments that you've got to make basically have like no input whatsoever. They're too slow. I don't want to go in there. I don't want to start a cutscene if it's. Is that what it's gonna do, or I don't want a cutscene just yet? Is that an enemy? Yeah, but you can. His aim assist turned back on. It always turns itself back on in this game. It's another problem that you need to fix, Stalker developers. I turned it off and it's back on. I don't want that on. And now so this also represents it way more accurately now as well, because those rats I had bloody aim assist on. Trying to hit headshot on him, pretty difficult. See how clunky it is? Like, it's not a smooth movement, it's a massive clunky. It's like that. It's like... It's... Right, so you can see that, right? I don't need to demonstrate that any further. That's their settings. Right? And go back to custom. Where's the camera setting? Camera curve. Right, we go back to custom, the one I made, and you can see the difference, especially with the aim assist off now as well. I've got no ammo for that gun, so I'm gonna have to use. You see that? Like, oh shit. My gun's broke, my gun's broke, my gun's broke, and now I'm gonna die. Won't load for a second, I just want to show. This video's gone too long, so I want to get some more enemies in and show you. Let me just make sure aim assist is off again, because it does on this game. Has a mind of its own. The settings menu. So all that loot I've left behind because I'm trying to do the video. I'm going to go back for it once I've stopped the recording. Oh, don't tell me. I can't go back for it now, can I? Oh, that's so much better. You know how hard it is playing this game to hit those fucking things. They're really annoying to hit. And when you do these settings, you're going to feel... Oh, it's going to feel so good. Finally, you can hit stuff without frustrating, janky movements. Why is my thing not working there? These things are so bloody annoying. Really not the best thing to demonstrate on, these things. Normal enemies would have been better, but... They also have loads of health, so... You think you're not hitting them, but you actually are. What's that sound? So yeah, you know, give it a try. Unfortunately, the mission that I was on, there's not many human enemies to demonstrate on, but you could definitely see it with the ones that I showed you. You could see at first it was really janky, lots of janky, clunky movements, and then you change the settings and it's nice and smooth. It's a lot easier to aim. Give it a try. Trust me, you won't regret it. Trust me. And put in the comments if it worked for you, if it made your aim any better. And I'd be interested to know how many people felt the same way with this game when you first played it. How many people were frustrated with it, with the aiming? It did my head in. It was absolutely awful. It looks like there's no other enemies I can kill around here. I don't think. I think there's those rats in there. And as well, you can increase the you can also still increase your normal sensitivity. Your aiming sensitivity and your normal sensitivity there. You can still increase those. Now, like depending on where your sensitivity settings are on these two here, for your overall sensitivity, it could determine, like, say if you've got this down to 30%, that curve will be way too slow, right? But that don't mean the curve's bad. It just means that you need to increase the sensitivity on here, because, like, the if with their old settings that they had on, if they've got a portion of the stick that's really slowed down at the beginning, typically they'd slow it right down. Then a higher sensitivity would counteract that first part, but then make the end where they've got it really fast too fast. So your sensitivity would be different based on that. So with this curve, you've got to adjust these sensitivities to the new curve. I'm going to increase mine there a little bit because it were a little bit slow. But yeah, so just do that and let me know if it's improved your gameplay or not. Get out there and do some stalkers. Peace.